You're listening to the Money Mike Syndicated Radio podcast. I'm bringing you an update on the Chico Fire. This situation has scrambled further. We're about 9:30 a.m. and Cal Fire has been battling all night. They've lost another 60,000 acres. It's up to 164 and rising. It's probably every minute it's raging out, and it's probably went a little bit further than that. What's going on, folks, is this the wind shifted last night. And of course, in Chico, California, when you're dealing with the heat and the dry ground, and that's why we don't allow fireworks in the Butte County area because it's so dry and it just doesn't take much to ignite or start the fire. The crews have been working all night long. And as you can see, this is just burning right on through. And when you look at it from evacuation standpoint, uh, basically we've got the Orange County Register, and here's what's going on, folks. This is actually headed up to Paradise, and they're talking as of last night, 164,000, and which burned 38,000. So we're way ahead, and we are just trying to keep it under control. You got Butte County, Tacoma County, and we are in a national disaster that just has kicked in. And this fire here, folks, take a look. CBS News. We'll bring it to you, and this is just not even under control. There's 3% containment. 97% is raging wild. And the most dangerous thing, if the wind shifts and when you get in there and the wind can turn around, if you get 30, 40 miles an hour winds and it turns, it can turn that fire. And that's what happened last night. Take a listen. This
This is a
is
small brush fire less than 48 hours ago. 160,000 acres have burned so far, and the blaze is only 3% contained. And now we're learning more about the cause. Jonathan Vigliotti is joining us now to talk more about this. He is in the thick of it all in Northern California. Jonathan, we saw your live shot early this morning. It does appear that the blaze has somewhat settled down, but it is still a very dangerous situation.
Settle down, Vlad, in this area. We are here on the eastern flank of this fire. We've been surveying the damage this morning. As you referenced earlier on CBS Mornings, we watched and you saw us as the flames ripped through this area. Now this morning, you've got this thick, acrid blanket of smoke. As you mentioned, the fire exploding overnight, 164,000 acres, 3 times the size of San Francisco. We're talking fire tornadoes, flames reaching hundreds of feet into the sky. This morning, 1,100 firefighters are here on scene battling these flames, but they've got their work cut out for them. As you can see behind me, this is rugged terrain. Most of the flames, we're told, are pushed even deeper in. Still, communities are threatened this morning. More than a dozen homes have been destroyed. And for that reason, thousands of people are still under a mandatory evacuation notice.
So, folks, that's what you got there. And here's the most dangerous situation with it. And here in the Butte County area, we've dealt with some fires. We lost Paradise, 50,000 people. We also have went up into Red Bluff, Santa Rosa. And the most dangerous thing that you have when you get into mountain fires and people live in the mountains is there's propane tanks that are providing the heating. And basically, if that propane tank explodes, which you're just going to start a blame. Now, the terrain that you are asking the firefighters to go through, that is a tough terrain because it's basically like being in a jungle. And when you're in that jungle, you're trying to understand how are we going to get this resolved. Now, you get here, this is how it all started. It's the most bizarre situation you could ever think of. Well, for those of you who went to Chico State, we're talking about Upper Park, the Bear Hole. And gentlemen, what he did, and he's been arrested, he started his car on fire for whatever reason, then put it in neutral and let it go down into almost like a creek bed. And it's completely dry here in Butte County. So we're battling it out. And folks, we just ask you to keep us in prayer as we continue. But this is not something that we really can control. Now, they said it settled down 3%, but if the wind shifts and it takes it the other way, and here's the most important critical part about that, Cal Fire has to fight the fire ahead of the fire. And if they get in there and that wind shifts, all the trenching, all the dozers, they push that, they cut it off. Sometimes they have to go out and burn it off start a fire to create a burn patch. So when it does get to that area, it will cease. But if the wind shifts, now they got to re-rotate, go all the way back. They've got about 1,100 firefighters that are on this. And here's a major thing that happens with CAL FIRE. We got some of the best first responders here in Butte County, Red Bluff, going up to AM County, Redding, California. This is a constant occurrence. However, the major home that fight fires or that work for CAL FIRE, they've already been dispatched out to other fires. And now we have to dispatch in crews who are not as familiar with the terrain and the area. And that does cause a little challenge. But I'll tell you, I salute to the first responders, the fire department, EMT, because what they're doing now, they're trying to do it and save lives. Folks, we went through Paradise Fire. That fire alone, we lost 50,000 residents, had to be evacuated. The town is burned. The fire has shifted back towards Paradise, and this one here, we are just in prayers. So this is the Money Mike Syndicated Radio podcast. We ask that you continue. We'll bring it to you, and this one here is just getting out of control. They say it has settled down, but the settling of the wind is what we cannot control. All things are possible to those who believe. This is the Money Mike Syndicated Radio podcast. We are powered up by Fanatics.